hello, good morning, and welcome to the International Mastermind Think and Grow Rich show. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist, and I am so excited every time I get an opportunity to hang out with everyone here and talk about the principles of the classic book written in 1937 called Think and Grow Rich. If you've been tracking with us, you know that we worked through the entire book, including one brief conversation about the outwitting the six ghosts of fear, and now we're at the beginning of the philosophy again, where we're going to be focused on desire, and we've got an incredibly special guest. Before we get into the guest, we're going to be hanging out without the master wealth builder because Miss Ann McNeil is traveling the world and she's left the reins to us. So we've got a couple of things that we're gonna be doing to try to fill Miss Ann's shoes. The first person I want to bring in is my co-host, one of my co-hosts who's been hanging with us for the past several years, and that is none other than Dr. Peter James. Dr. Peter, what's going on, man?
Happy New Year to you, Galen. Good morning to you, everyone. Hope you all are doing well today. Galen, I am so excited. You know why? We got the keys. We got the keys to not even the car, we got the keys to the house. And you know what? We're gonna do what we want. And you remember that, Galen, that old series, Where's Waldo? In this case, we're gonna say, where's Anne McNeil? Because Anne McNeil is somewhere on this planet that we don't quite know where. And hopefully, every now and then, she graces us with her presence to share some things that she's seeing, but definitely some things that she's applying from Think and Grow Rich. But today, we're about desire, excited about our special guest, Galen. Hey, let's dive on in, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got another co-host. We got another co-host, and this guy is no stranger to the show. He's been on the show several times and rocked the house and created all kinds of. He's damaged a whole bunch of trees because I took a bunch of notes every time he would show up. So, Luis, welcome to the show as one of our co-hosts. How you doing, man?
Thank you, Galen. It's amazing to be here. I'm very, very honored and privileged for this opportunity to be with you guys. And absolutely, I am thrilled. I'm thrilled. And Miss Anne, thank you for the opportunity. Peter, thank you for the opportunity. You guys are amazing. This is a spectacular platform for people to know the principles of Napoleon Hill. It's wonderful. And I am just very, very, very glad to be here. I'm like a little kid in Christmas when right before you open your gifts because you don't know what's going to happen. And being on this side, it's wonderful. And yeah, it's desire. Also, I am a certified coach by the Napoleon Hill Institute. So I think the reason why I'm here is to ask questions about and to go deep into the principle, which is one of the most important things. And we were going to talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And Luis, I'll tell you, I have often thought about the conversations we've had when you've been on the show, and just the depth that it takes, the requirements, the responsibilities that it takes in order to become a certified coach with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. It's more than just reading the book a couple of times,
Oh, yeah.
which I've done. I read the book a couple of times, and feel pretty good about my understanding of it, at least to this degree. Talk just for a hot second about what does it take to become a Napoleon Hill certified coach? What kinds of work do you have to do beyond just reading the book a couple of times?
Right, absolutely. It's an adventure. The Napoleon Hill Institute, which it has the blessing, depends on the foundation, which Mr. Don Green is in charge of as the CEO. They do an amazing job. Um, it's a huge opportunity for anyone that actually wants to get deep into the work of Napoleon Hill, which the great thing is we in the institute, we don't just focus on learning the principles in of Think and Grow Rich, but Napoleon Hill has a lot of books. The foundation has created a lot of books around his own work. Like one of the books that we love is The Science of Achievement. It's uh, it's another book from Napoleon Hill with another 17 principles, which takes some of that Think and Grow Rich, but he goes in this one, the Science of Personal Achievement, he goes into breaks down some of the principles and gets like sub principles. It's fascinating. So, and you get to work with Napoleon Hill material, like literally videos, classes from Napoleon Hill himself. You get with more people. You get weekly calls with about coaching, how to become a better coach, how to study. We got Dr. Joe Vitale is now the president of the institute, so he comes and teaches once a month. It's amazing. It gets really you get with you are the product of the environment of the people you surround yourself with, right? So a mastermind. So you start getting into all this vibration, and you have to go deep into the understanding. And when I first started, when I was getting the classes, all these master coaches, I felt like a little kid talking to adults. Like I don't understand how the things they're saying when they were saying things in depth. I was like, oh my God, this is like so much knowledge. But you get to work, you get to work, you get to work. And just like Napoleon says, you can become an expert if you put the time. If you study 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day, by the end of the year, it's like you put about 8 weeks, a full
Wow.
like an 8 hour, 5 weeks. It's
Wow.
amazing, and it's just compounds. And then all of a sudden, when you read the book the second time, and you stop and you actually think and understand the book, it comes to a whole different level. Absolutely. So
Wow.
it is, I mean, you have to be passionate about it a little bit, but it's like everything else, right? We gotta find our desire to do it. What is the burning desire? Napoleon Hill says it cannot be just a mere wish or hope. It is a burning desire. So we're gonna get deep into it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, when you start talking about experts and people who have a burning desire,
Mhm.
that brings us to our guest because I have experienced Cathy Fyock a couple of times, and you talk about being an expert. I'm the leadership strategist, but this lady is the business book strategist. She can take someone's desire for a topic and turn it into an actual thing and walk them through the process of creating a book, which is something that people talk about doing. Almost everyone talks about writing a book
Right?
someday. This is the person that helps you turn that wish into an actual thing by fanning that desire. So with that, Cathy, please come on in. We'd love to kick this off. Oh my gosh, this is going to be an incredible conversation. We are closing. We closed out 2024. Everyone has created their list of things that they hope to do this year. And I would be willing to bet you that the majority of people have somewhere on that list, you know what? I'm going to write a book. Talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how do you hang out with folks and help them turn that wish to write a book? And I usually tag on my favorite phrase, someday. How do you turn writing a book someday into writing a book today?
Absolutely. Well, it's great to be back with you and to talk about this subject, especially in the light of burning desire. I'm the business book strategist, and I work with professionals and thought leaders who want to write a book as a business growth strategy, as a career strategy, as a way to expand your influence, expand your thought leadership, expand your brand, your ministry, whatever that might be. A book is a fabulous way to establish who you are and what you do. So yes, we'll talk today about how to take it off that list and put it into make it a burning desire, because it's really very, very different than putting it on your resolution list or your to-do list and actually having the burning desire, which we'll talk about.
Well, fantastic. I can't wait to get into this conversation. If you are tuning in, make sure that you are joining us when we stream live on YouTube Live. If you are watching YouTube Live, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I see folks starting to join us already. We got V-Lynn Whitfield, who's always here, but she was one of the first ones to join us on YouTube Live. We got Carla Hill and Shannon Charlton is here. RCF Cherry is here. Doretha Dennis always joining us. And Ms. Smitty is here as well. Hit that little thumbs up icon underneath the video so that we can let YouTube know that they need to pay attention to the algorithm and make sure that we are somewhere ahead of all the things that's happening with the next presidential administration, because that seems to be what's trending right now. So hit that thumbs up icon so we can get into this conversation. I'm going to kick this off, Cathy, and then I'll throw this to Peter. I'm going to try to channel Ms. Ann. One of her favorite questions is talk a little bit about when you were first exposed to the book Think and Grow Rich. You're the book strategist. I'm sure you've read hundreds and maybe even thousands of books. When were you first exposed to the book Think and Grow Rich?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I think I've been aware of the book for a long time, but I was invited to be a part of a mastermind, Think and Grow Rich Mastermind, and I've participated in 2 of these, and they have been just life-changing, because it's one thing to sort of know about the principles, and it's another thing to really read the book and talk about it with others and really understand at a deep level the principles that are within this book. It is totally mind-blowing and mind-changing. So I've gone through it in that way and love and keep referring folks to the principles in this book that I have right here.
Well, fantastic. Well, Dr. Peter, once you come on in, what questions do you have for Cathy? And then, so what questions do you have for Cathy as we kick this thing off?
Cathy, I'm excited to dive in here. We're diving into Napoleon Hill's 13 principles, his text, Think and Grow Rich. But principle number 1, desire. And he dives so much into what is needed from this desire perspective and how we can apply it, what it looks like. Again, Galen and I often ask a question of clients is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how deep is your desire to get this goal accomplished, get your objective accomplished? It is so important to even measure that, to really know, because it's going to determine how much or how successful you are to a certain extent. As you're thinking about the book writing, and this is going to be good for all the audience who's watching, how much does desire play into this book writing process?
It's huge, and it's not just saying I want to write a book, or I think that would be cool, or I think it would help my business or my career. But one of the very first exercises I have my clients go through is identifying the why. Why do they want to write the book? And that is critical. It's perhaps it is to leave a legacy, but understanding that is important. Perhaps you want to write a book because you are starting a new business venture. And I'll tell you very quickly that I started my business as a book coach by writing a book about how to write a book. In fact, um, as I was starting this business, before I was a book coach, I was a human resources consultant, speaker, authority, and I had no real credential other than I was a published author. And so I realized that if I was going to be a book coach, I needed to write a book about how to write a book. And that was the way I established my expertise, my credibility, established visibility. So that's really key to anyone with a big goal, is thinking about why is that a big goal? Because that will unearth your true desire by understanding the motivation behind that.
Critically important. Critically important. Louise, one of the things that Peter mentioned a couple of times, and we've mentioned already, is that desire is the first principle. We're starting the year at the very beginning. Cathy's already talked about why desire is so important. What are some of the other principles? Introduce this video that we usually use to explain all the principles, but why is it important for us to appreciate all the principles and their connectedness rather than just focusing on one, like we tend to do on a monthly basis?
Absolutely. No, it's critically important because most of us, we have heard about principles, or to be successful, get this, get that, do this, do that, follow this person, right? But Napoleon Hill created this philosophy in order to, by Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie asked him, right, to write this book, to write a philosophy. He interviewed more than 500 millionaires back then, like over a century ago. And he put this philosophy. It took him 24 years to write this book. He had to try it on his own because Andrew told him, you cannot, you're not going to get money. I'm not going to pay you. You're going to have to write this book if you're willing to do it, and you're going to support yourself. The only thing that you're going to get from me is introduction letters and opening doors to talk to people. You're going to have to pave your own way, which he did. And it was amazing. Now, how all these principles, why are they important? Because having a burning desire is amazing, but if you don't apply any of the other principles, it's going to take you way longer, and it's going to be way harder for you to get your goals, to be successful, whatever success means to you, because that's subjective, right? Everybody's success is different. So when we put all these together, to me, the way I see it is like a puzzle, and you start putting all these pieces together. The more principles you use, the faster you go in life, period. And the best part is these are principles. So they work perfect for business, relationships, money, peace of mind, every single spirituality, your fitness level, everything can you can use these principles to in any area of your life. So uh, using all these principles, especially in the order that Napoleon Hill brings them to us, it is the secret, so it's the formula to get anything that you want in life. Once I started using these principles consciously, I had some success as a martial artist. I won quite a few world championships, but I didn't know. I was using these principles without even knowing. I was a competent with no reasoning. Like I didn't know. Once I started using the principles, when I started learning the principles, I started getting so much better, communicating better, making better decisions, having better business partners. My relationship with my wife was good. It got so much better. The communication, everything started getting better. It's like you reach a different level and clarity comes to you, which is so important, right? But without any further ado, we will introduce the principles to you.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right, and there you have it, all 13 principles. I never grow tired of hearing all of them together. Cathy, I want to come back to you and just really get deep into something that you've mentioned a couple of times. Right now, we're talking about the principle of desire. And you mentioned that you work on first understanding why they want to write this book, what's underneath the desire to write the book. Because if you've got a weak desire, you're going to have a weak output. Why is desire so important? Even to the point where the author talks about having a burning desire. Why is that so important for the book writing process?
You need to understand what your book is going to do. It's not just having a book, it's understanding that your book is going to be an important part of what you do going forward. And let me give you an example of that, a story of that. One of my good friends, and I think you know my good friend, Amy Waninger, she wanted to write a book, but it wasn't just to write a book. She wanted to launch a career as a speaker, as a thought leader, as an expert. And she knew that in order to do that, she had to have a book as that credential piece. So it wasn't just to write a book because that would be cool, although it is cool to be the author of a book. But she wrote it as a positioning tool for her next step in her career. When she first started working with me, she was employed, and when about halfway through the process, she left her job and was able to launch her career as a speaker, author, consultant. And she uses the book as the curriculum for her training, her workshops, and so forth. So having that understanding about how you're going to use the book, what role it's going to play is critical. And it's also the desire, if I can go back to Amy and her story, is it's one thing to want to write a book. It's another thing to break out of the corporate environment, to become your own boss, to lead others, to share with others your thought leadership. And that's the difference in just having it as an item on your to-do list and really having the deep desire. It's understanding the why behind your book and what you're going to do with it. And understanding that is critical.
Yeah, so Dr. Peter, I want to bring you back in because you mentioned that that's at the core of what we do as executive coaches is try to get into and tap into another person's desire. I can't make you do anything. The best I can do is find out why you want to do this and then give you the tools and the inspiration to take the next step. What questions do you have for Cathy? Because her process sounds very similar to an executive coaching process.
Absolutely. And yeah, thank you so much again for being here today there, Kathy. And I guess I want to go a little bit more in detail about this book writing process, if I could, because I'm sure there's some audience members who have part of their resolutions or their goals or of their objectives to dive on into this book that they have been wanting to write for quite a while. Where do they get started? I mean, what is the process? If you could just give us maybe a 30,000-foot view of your process in order to give in our individuals an inkling of what it may take for them to get the momentum going.
That's a great question. I developed a book. It's actually a workbook called My New Book, and it guides folks through the process. Um, what I begin with is the why, and to identify specific reasons. I have a whole list of things that you might be reasons you might be writing your book, but it helps you articulate those things. And then the next exercise is your book and your business, assuming that you have a speaking business, a consulting business, coaching business, or want to go in that direction. How is the book going to strategically be linked to your business? And then finally, I have an exercise. It's a visioning exercise of write a story of what your life looks like as a published author. What's different? What's what's new? What are you doing then that you're not doing now? And so having that really clear vision will also help you with that burning desire. So I am not a fan. I've heard some folks say, well, just to start writing a book, you just start writing. I say absolutely not. You can go in circles, you can find yourself exhausted and really not getting anywhere really quickly. So, starting with a strategic plan for your book. And that's when I'm working with clients. We start with a 2 hour strategy session where we talk about the purpose of the book, how it's to be integrated with the business. We talk about the thesis statement, what the book is about. And it's not just about leadership, it's about some element or some take on leadership, for example. So it's fine tuning that, fine tuning who the reader is, which should align with your goals for your business, your career, and then the structure of the book. So understanding those elements as you begin is, as far as I'm concerned, the only way to begin, because otherwise you can just be spinning your wheels and doing a lot of work without getting you toward the product that you want that will fuel your career and the next step for you.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Kathy. I know again in Think and Grow Rich and in the Desire chapter, Napoleon Hill goes into the 6 definite practical actions. I want to pass the baton over to Louise, as I know this is a process that we can use in so many different areas of our lives, probably as well the book writing process as well, Louise. Louise, maybe for you now to ask questions for Kathy.
Absolutely. Well, number one, in this 45, well, a little bit more, over a minute, Kathy, that you just mentioned all this, I just wrote down these principles in what you just said. Desire, auto-suggestion, organized planning, specialized knowledge, mastermind principle, desire. I mean, you're to create this book, you're using the principles. You are using
Absolutely.
all of them. So one of the things is, and because we're focused on desire, if let's go back even a little bit, take a couple of steps back. If you don't know what you want, how can you work on something if you don't know what you want, right? It's
Yes.
the main thing is I want to write a book. This is when the expert, when Kathy comes in, is what is your book about? Right? I'm pretty sure that's one of the main blocks. What do you find about how can you uncover and get that clarity from the clients, right? What would you say?
Exactly. So, yes. So, a lot of times people will say to me, I want to write a book to help others. I want to write a book to share my expertise. That's I mean, that's good. We want to do those things, but we have to go deeper than that and really understanding the how it's going to impact others and how you're going to use this book. So it's understanding this at a much deeper level. So understanding these strategic elements of the purpose, the why you're writing, the what the topic is, who it's for, and what the structure is going to be. Incredibly important.
Now, with this part, do you I'm assuming you have a process of how to do everything
Yes.
regardless of the topic, right? It is a process, it's a formula. So
Yes.
in Desire, just like Peter's mentioned, there's 6 steps, right? To create to achieve a goal. That's how he calls it. And he goes actually deeper in auto-suggestion, right? He go back to that chapter and he starts talking about these 6 steps. Number one is what is the goal? Like he calls, of course, is the book is about books because that was the hook, right? Who wants to be a millionaire? Who doesn't want to be a millionaire, right? So that's the hook. Think and Grow Rich. Did you know, by the way, guys, that he didn't come up with the name of the book until the night before the texts were out for publishing to the editorial. He came up with the name the night before. So he went to sleep and he said, I Infinite Intelligence, please let me guide me with the name. And that's when it came. That's a cool story.
That is cool.
It is. So, and I'm assuming, right? Sometimes the title of the book, sometimes it's not that easy to, sometimes the hardest part is easier to do in one way or it comes easier, but those little details, because the title of the book is your presentation, right? That's a lot of people, I would say 90% of the people judge the books by their covers or their titles, right?
Yes.
So step number one, what do you want? In this case, a book. Number two, buy when you want it. You need to put a date on it. Otherwise, it's just a mere desire. It's just a wish. It's not a plan, correct?
Yes, and one of the things I've learned is that
Mm-hmm.
writing a book is, while it's always important, it is never urgent.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're on deadline with a publisher. And most of my authors are doing hybrid publishing or even self-publishing. So you're not on contract, you're not on deadline. So you have to impose your own deadline. And so creating that sense of urgency, and sometimes working with a coach is one of the best ways to create that sense of urgency. I have developed a 6-month program, and that is by design. When I first started, it was a year-long program. I determined that was too long because people will drag it out if you give them the time to do that. So we set 6 months as the course of coaching services because it creates an important deadline. So having it done in 6 months, within 6 months, so that then it can be published and you can reap all of the fruits of that labor.
Beautiful. And then the next step, see, perfect, because now it is a date. You have a whole process and you have a date, 6 months, which is amazing. I love it because you're right. When it comes to a month, people start drifting. Like, whether we like it or not, we start drifting, life gets in the way and all that. But that's when you find out if it's a true desire, a true burning desire or not, right?
That's
That's
right.
amazing. And I love that because, yeah, I agree with you. If there's no coaching, we get faster and farther in life with a coach, period. Period. It's like in my world of the martial arts, is a sensei, right? You have a sensei,
Yes,
Mr. Miyagi, right? We have
absolutely.
that guy take us through the path. Then the next step is, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? What's the plan? What am I going to do it? And that's exactly what you lay out in your 6-month program. This is step one, step two, and what am I going to give? I'm going to give the best service, right? Napoleon says, give the best
Yes.
service at the highest quality. So what do you have to say
Yes.
about that?
Yeah, so when I do too is during that 6 months, I meet with my clients each week, and there is accountability. They have a deliverable each week. They turn in their work. I review it at a high level, give them feedback when we meet, and then set the next deliverable. So there are milestones along the way that allow folks to say, "Oh yes, I am building a book. It is coming together." And there is progress. So seeing that is really important for clients because it's a huge task and it's easy to become disillusioned or
Mhm.
to have other things get in the way. Often I say life gets in the way of writing your book.
Mhm.
So having that weekly accountability is an
Mhm.
important element.
Absolutely. And then the step number five, yeah, yes, four, I'm sorry. It's start writing down a plan. Write it in.
Yes.
One of the things that, and what you said is amazing because it ties up perfectly with it. Because most of us, like one of the reasons I want to write a book, but I don't know because I don't know. And sometimes 80% of the people don't take that next step and actually take action because I cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel. I
Yes.
want to have step A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. And Napoleon Hill tells us no, action, action, action. All you need is the next two steps. That's it. You need 2 or 3 steps. It's like, I love this analogy. When you're in at night in the car, you turn your headlights on. The lights
Yes.
don't show all the way to the where you're going. It's just hot, like 50 yards in front of you, 40. That's all you need. That's literally all you need to keep moving forward. How do you get there? Mile after mile after mile. So I love that. So if what would you like to give us more clarity on that? Like, or if you notice that your clients get these kind of blockages because they want to go all the way, or if you find that this is the process and they get super excited about it.
Well, that's what I love about a weekly check-in
Mhm.
is it's not thinking about the whole book. It's a thinking about the next chunk of what you need to write.
Mhm.
So it's exactly that. It's having the headlights on and seeing the next block of road and being focused on that, so that it's not this huge, overwhelming task. It is task after task that is very manageable, doable, and gives you the confidence to say, yes, I can see this coming together. It's coming together as a book, and I can see it growing in front of my eyes, which is so exciting.
Yes. And this is the coolest part because now we can make a statement. This is step number 5 on that formula that Peter was mentioning. Put it all together. By this, I will have this by this date, doing this
Yes.
when with my coach. And once you write down that statement, he asks step number 6, repeat it every morning, every night, right after you wake up, before you go to bed. If I promise you guys, if you're doing any tasks, any goal, if you start writing down that goal, it's going to happen way faster. So I'm assuming, as you know, the book so well and the principles so well, some kind of process goes there. Like you mentioned it, right? Like, see, how do you see yourself? How is this going to help you? I love it because it was just auto suggestion, which is one of my favorite principles because I use it a lot. It helps me to make it happen faster. Uh, what is on these last two little things? Put it all together and then repeat it. Become obsessed, positively obsessed with it. Uh, do you do anything like that in your process?
Yes, in fact, I'm a big believer in the power of momentum, which is kind of what we're
Mhm.
talking about.
Mhm.
You get something done and then you see, oh, the book is growing. I'm 10% done. I'm 20% done. And you have this sense of I'm moving forward. So creating momentum. For example, one of the things that I like to say to my clients is you need to invest at least 5 hours a week toward this goal of writing, and those 5 hours are writing, because if you do less than that, you will have progress toward your book, but not enough to create that momentum that is so important. So putting in the time and then growing it in a very measured and productive way is really the path to creating a book and getting it done in 6 months' time.
Hey,
Great.
Kathy, we got a question in the chat, and then I got another question for you too that's kind of
Okay,
related.
great.
So the question that's kind of related is, um, what's the value of having a mastermind or a coach? I wrote an article a little while ago, and I talk about the fact that nobody needs a coach. Nobody needs a coach. You're going to be just fine without a coach. I wrote my book in 2017, and it's just fine. Didn't have a coach, it's just fine. But the key, and this is going back to desire, the key is there an area in your life where being just fine is not good enough,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
And so that's where you tap into an expert, someone like yourself, that's going to get you past just fine. I mean, to write a book, all you need is a computer, a piece of paper and a pen, and you can write a book and it's going to be just fine. But what's the value of having a mastermind or a coach to help you through this process? And then part of that is the question that we get from Sharice Taylor, where she's getting to some specifics around what's the best approach or process for a first-time author around publishing? What's the value of having someone to guide you through that process if being just fine is not good enough?
Right. Well, there's so many ways you can trip yourself up in trying to do it on your own. And there's blind spots that we all have as we're working on our own. And that's the power of having a coach or a mastermind, is that coach or mastermind helps you see your blind spots, helps you see what you can't see. Because as the author, as the one doing the writing, you you will only be able, as you look at your own work, you'll only be able to see what you meant to say, not what you actually said. And so having someone give you that kind of feedback, one of the things that I find when I'm working with clients is they sometimes don't realize that they're putting things, it's all about me, I, instead of you. And they don't see that unless someone is pointing that out to them. They may see, they may not see the need for stories. And you and I know how important storytelling is. If you're not telling stories, you may understand your key points, but it may not be translatable to your reader if you're not telling stories. So that's where having a coach, a mastermind, is so important to help you see the things that you can't see, that you're too close to the forest to see those trees. So working with a writing community and or a writing coach. And I think both are really important. In fact, as part of my coaching practice, I have a group coaching component because I think the value of community is so critical, because we can all help each other and we all make each other stronger when we are working in community, which is the foundational principles around masterminding.
Yeah. I want to toss this back to Peter, but let's get just a little bit deeper into Sharice's question around, is there a best approach for first time authors, or is the answer one of those MBA answers where it depends?
It all depends. Yeah, for first-time authors, I think just start with a strategy, start with a plan for the writing of the book. And I've developed a workbook, like I was mentioning earlier, just for that purpose, to have you think through those strategic elements of why, what is the thesis, who is the reader, what is the structure, having those things thought out in advance, so important. And then the other thing for first time authors, is the publishing question, is how am I going to get this writing that I've done to market? So is it through a traditional publisher? Is it through self-publishing, or is it through a hybrid publisher? So again, those are difficult decisions to make on your own, especially when you don't know the landscape. And what's doubly challenging is the landscape is changing at a fairly rapid pace. So having a community of folks and or a coach to help guide you through what are my options, how should I think about the best publishing option for me, and how do I not get taken? Because there are a lot of bad actors out there in the world who will charge you a lot of money and not give you a very good product.
Wow. Yeah, hey, Dr. Peter, I'm hearing Cathy talk about the value of having an expert with a singular focus. I'm also hearing her talk about the power of community. What questions do you have for Cathy?
And I don't have a question right off the top, but I embrace all of those things that Cathy is mentioning. Having that expert, having that mentor, that sensei, as Louise had even mentioned, in your life, but then also having that group, that tribe, to be able to lean on, to be able to move with, to a certain extent. A great example of that is Galen, the annual meeting that we just came back from in South Florida. And here's an example of the tribe that we met with for that day in order to just plan our year, but not even just the year, Galen, plan our life, but even not even just our career and business life, but plan our life in various areas, our health, our finances, our family, our career, our business, but so many other areas to be held accountable to as we move forward. Hey, folks, if if you don't have that tribe or that coach slash mentor that is holding you accountable, as Louise said, you can go faster. As Louise and Galen said, you don't need a coach. You don't need a coach in your life. But if you desire to go faster and farther, this conversation today is for you folks. So today's the day for you to jump on, whether it's for the book, whether it's for your career, whether it's for your business, whether it's for your health. Today's the day for you to jump on and figure out, beginning now in 2025, here's what I want to be able to accomplish now, but also into my life. So this is great there, Galen. Galen, we're getting close. We got to start, putting our seats upright and fastening our seat belts.
Yeah, absolutely. We are getting really, really close to the edge, and time is flying by. I'd love to just go around and just kind of get insights from everyone. First of all, how can people get a hold of you? But what are you taking from this conversation? I'm going to start with the new kid on the block. Luis, what did you get from this conversation with Cathy? She is every time she's come, she's been amazing, and I leave with all kinds of notes and
Hmm.
commitments for myself.
Yeah, I
What
have
did you
two
take
pages
from this?
already.
Yeah, what did you take from this conversation, and how can people get a hold of you if they want to get more insight from you?
Absolutely no. Thank you, Kathy, because you're giving me clarity. It's the expertise. You're taking the stage and you're doing exactly what you're great at. This is how you do it. This is how you do it, and and the years of experience are coming in right now. So more than questions, I'm getting. You're showing us a clear path of how to achieve this goal. You're making it way easier,
Yes.
less scary, less terrifying for some people, right? And like in my case, um, can you remind us the name of your book? The one that,
Well, I
yes,
have several books,
right,
but the
right.
one I
But
mentioned
mhm,
was my new book,
my new
which
book.
is a workbook to help folks get started in and doing the exercises of thinking through the why, the what am I talking about, the who is this for, and those strategic elements.
That's amazing, amazing. And would that help people to get more clarity on their burning desire?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm getting, like clarity, like it's literally like a veil moved out of fear, right? Because we do or we don't do things because of fear. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, and Luis, how can people get a hold of
Oh,
you if they want to get more insights?
absolutely. Yes, thank you. On Instagram as Luis Jimenez Coaching. And also my website is luisjimenezcoaching.com. And we will be super happy to help you. And my niche is with business owners, athletes, and also immigrants, right? That's my case. So that's the kind of people that I found because that's so important. We cannot help people if I know we can help a lot of people. In this case, Cathy is helping people that want to write their books, and it's way easier. Peter,
Yeah, good stuff there, Louise. Kathy, of course, thank you so much again for being with us today. What I took away from this, folks, and I mentioned it earlier, I'm going to reiterate it again. Um, you can write a book on your own. You can do a lot of things on your own, but if you want to go faster and further, especially in the book writing area, Kathy's your person for sure. And so definitely reach out to her if 2025 is the year for your book, or if you know someone who it's their year to write a book, then you need to share this information with them so that they can reach out to her as well, for sure. So that's very awesome. This was a great conversation, especially about this desire chapter that we really need to, as Cathy mentioned, find out our why. What's the reason that we want to accomplish this? As she also mentioned, after this is finished, what do you desire that your life look like, right? And so, my name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me on LinkedIn primarily, but also at shiftyourmindset.com. And if this is your year to take your business or career to the next level, again, you can do it on your own, but I don't know about you. I just don't like being status quo or average. I like to take my life, my career, my business to the next level, which is why I've helped to design the Own Your Career Challenge. 4 days of you diving on in to your career and saying, hey, what is my purpose? What do I desire to accomplish? And you're going to have not just one coach, but two coaches to be able to guide you in this process. 4 days, $97. Where can you get that at on this planet? I encourage you to find Shift Your Mindset / Own Your Career Challenge. We'll make sure we put these links in the chat for you. All right, Galen, back to you.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I want to save Cathy for last. I'm going to tell you that one of the things I got from this conversation, we often talk about how this process applies to almost anything that you want to do. The title of the
Yes.
book is Think and Grow Rich. And as Louise shared, the title was really more of a way to attract people to the book, to purchase the book. And Cathy can appreciate why you'd want to have an attractive title. But you can use this process to accomplish anything that you
Yes.
decide is really, really important. And I love the way Cathy has applied these exact principles to writing a book. If it's something that you really, really want to do, and that's where she starts, what do you really, really want to do? And then from there, she can talk you through the rest of the process. But that's where it starts. I really appreciate that. My name is Galen Bing. I'm the leadership strategist. You can find me in a variety of places, but the most fun way, the easiest way, is to check out my podcast. It's called Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. We just launched season 7. We literally won 2 global podcasting awards for 2024. I would encourage you to check us out. Double dog dare you to try us just once. Guarantee you will pick up something that's going to help you move forward in your life and your career. Cathy, what about you? What are some final thoughts that you have? What are some final encouragements that you have for the audience? And how can people get a hold of you?
Perfect, perfect. Well, I'd like to say you can do it, and I want to be that encourager, cheerleader. If anyone is thinking about writing a book and wants to schedule a complimentary strategy session with me, I welcome that. Just send me an email, Cathy at cathyfyock.com, and I'd love to schedule time to talk with you. For those of folks who have already written a book, I'm starting an author mind. So it's for published authors who want to get their books out there. You can go under my services tab on my website at cathyfyock.com and learn more about Author Mind, the Author Mind. And then on Monday, I'm starting a podcast. It's like a little 5-minute daily podcast, weekdays, Monday through Friday, where I give a writing tip and a writing prompt. So I'd love to connect with each of you. So cathyfyock.com.
Well, fantastic. Well, I hope if you're watching, I hope you got as much from this conversation as I certainly did. I've been threatening to write my next book since 2017, so it's on my list as well. And
I hear you, Galen. I hear you.
So, again, and I just really want to encourage everyone, as Dr. Peter often says, if you have not read this book, that's the first step. Get a copy of this book. It is about so much more than what the title suggests. If your limited view of rich is wealth and money, that's there too, but it's so much more than just about creating more money. It's literally about creating whatever you decide is worth your while to focus on. So get a copy of the book, start reading it, and join us each and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk through one of the principles of Think and Grow Rich with someone who's actually doing it. This isn't just theoretical. This is not a book study. This is not a book club. We're actually talking with people who are leveraging these principles to create something amazing in their field of expertise. So until next time, be well, think and grow rich.